America just bombed Somalia days after they bombed Iran, and hundreds of people have been killed. Today, the US announced they've carried out more airstrikes onto terrorist groups in Somalia, near to the capital city of Mogadishu. But something really important, the US has actually been bombing Somalia for months. In fact, they've carried out nearly 50 airstrikes since the US President Trump took office. And you probably didn't know that, mainly because I didn't even know that until today, and it's my job to know that. Anyway, you might remember back in February a few months ago, the US President Trump officially announced that he had attacked Somalia and carried out airstrikes. I think I made a video on that, except he said he carried out airstrikes onto terrorist groups within Somalia. Specifically, he said, quote, "These killers who we found hiding in caves had threatened the United States." Now, since then, he's actually been pretty much consistently bombing Somalia and carrying out airstrikes. He just hasn't been talking about it, so nobody's really heard about it. And it's worth knowing that I looked into this to see if the US was telling the truth about it, and to be fair, it seems like they are. The US said these strikes have only targeted terrorist groups, and they haven't affected civilians pretty much whatsoever, and the local reports in Somalia say the same thing. In fact, nearly 200 bad guys have been killed by these nearly 50 airstrikes that the US has carried out, and in that time, only 4 civilians have been killed. Of course, 4 is still too many, but it's not as many as you would expect from 50 airstrikes. As the US hasn't really been speaking about this, we don't have much more information, but these strikes mainly took place in western and southern Somalia. In fact, some of these strikes took place in El Karaf, if that's how you say it. I apologise if it isn't. And that's a small town that's less than 100 miles away from Mogadishu, the capital city and busiest city in Somalia, which has got nearly 4 million people that live there. So that's really a big deal, but the main point is that for the last 3 months, the US has been carrying out pretty much consistent airstrikes on Somalia. Just nobody's really heard about it because it doesn't affect much. Separately, buy a t-shirt or a hoodie, it helps support the channel. Go to the link in my bio. Cheers, guys.